So based on the things that we talked about, did you guys think of anything just off the cuff that you thought maybe would benefit women more if we kind of talked more about it, or if we?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that could have been said.
Yeah, we could do like probably 4 hours.
It's relationships, and that's what women want to talk about.
I think one that helped me personally and also helped Jihan is to actually take an inventory of our lives before we dated, and to see where we were at and if we were ready to date. Yeah. That was like one of the biggest things that I had to, because some people go from relationship to relationship, and it makes sense. You have a void, you want to fill it. Yeah. And the key is who you're going to fill it with, and if you fill it with God, and He actually will fill you, and will show you the way where you need to actually, where are the holes, because those holes will never go away just by filling it with someone else. Yeah. But to that point is the first time I actually ever did a list of my must-haves and my must-not-haves was before I dated Jihan, not during. Because if it's during, then I'm just gonna fill in. She's I like 5'9", I like So
and that could be a red flag too. Oh, by the way, I don't like when she does this, and I don't like this.
And it's also very important for that list. So I redid that list many times because is it really a must-have to have a dog? And my goodness, I love dogs, and it's pretty much a must-have. But I took that one off the list. It was please God, I hope she had one. But if she doesn't, that's not a top.
It's not a deal breaker.
You can get one together.
Yeah, we can get one together.
So the list.
So the list has to be key.
I flushed it.
You did?
I didn't even. The funny thing with Amy was like, I didn't even check the list. I didn't.
She's on staff.
Good.
I didn't.
Standards of ministry. I didn't check the list though. I really didn't. I straight up. I was like, I knew I had the list. I didn't check. I was just like,
why?
It felt right. It was easy
awesome.
from the get.
Yeah.
Like it was effortless from the beginning, and I didn't need to check and see if she was like, it was already in me anyway, and so it was just like it just fit.
Did everybody have a list? Did you have a list? Do you have a list, David?
I'm gonna use Carlos' list. No, I have a list.
You do have a list.
It's a mental list, but there was a sermon. Again, I like to follow all these guys. Rick Warren did a message about what should be on your list, and so obviously, is she a Christian? Do they follow God? And I think the biggest thing that was on the list, because there's about 4 things, but the biggest thing is, does her calling line up with your calling? So he knew that his wife.
Does she know her calling?
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't yet.
Okay. But does she know she has one?
But does she know she has one? And is she seeking out what her calling is? Because maybe she's in a transition point. That's I don't think that you have to, as long as she's pursuing and making progress and not being stagnant. But so he knew his wife was called to be a preacher's wife, and not Whitney Houston. But it's a good movie.
That's right.
But
random.
Because he's there. There's a great book called The Sacred Search that I read that I loved. But if your wife's calling and your calling do not line up, that's going to be a really rough road. Yeah. And as long as you have a foundation that you love God, it can work.
Yeah.
But if she's traveling overseas and you want somebody who's going to be at home because you need that kind of relationship, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really tough.
The Bible talks about being equally yoked.
Yeah.
And it's like a level playing field where you want to build from that.
Yeah.
Not start like this and try to catch up, because I think one of you pointed out, if you're dating someone that is seeking God, they will not. Statistics are that you're not going to be able to pull them up. Most of the time, they'll pull you down.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to save someone that's drowning, but they have a huge weight. It's very hard to save them.
And it's because when you're doing that, you're trying to be the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
He's already here. We don't need to be him.
Yeah.
But we can't be him because he's the one that saved us. So it's like, I don't have enough grace overflow to pull you up too.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. No, that is very
I had a list, but I didn't look at it because I thought you were a test. Because
What do you mean you didn't look at it?
Because I was like, this is a test. I'm gonna pass this test. I was purposely avoiding relationships and nothing. You and I had a conversation.
But you did have a list though, right?
I had a list.
Okay.
I did have a list.
Okay.
But kind of like Carlos was saying, like when the first time I made the list, there was a lot of just the most random stuff.
Yeah.
And then
I still own an Xbox.
Right, just definitely
has to
Xbox.
have a gamer
Loves
tag with
video
about
games.
7,000.
Throw a spiral.
But it just I ended up going the route that Nelson went, where I just got rid of it, and I was like, God, because the thing is, if God truly knows me better, I was like, God, whatever you have for me, I'm happy with.
Yeah.
So I realized any list, no matter how great it is, was going to be limiting. Now, I did have certain things that were deal breakers, but I thought those deal breakers lined up with God's word.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like,
loves
God.
Yeah, it was my list, not his list.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I think there was a point, and we were very much on the same page. There was a point, because we both were at points in our lives where we were just run over by trucks. You know, we were just so tired of doing us God's way individually. And it got to the point, I know for me, we didn't even know we were walking parallel lives, but we were. And I was just on my knees daily because I was so tired of doing relationship after relationship after relationship, and it would just fail every time. And when I came to Oasis, Philip was starting the teaching series. What's it called?
Sex Drive.
The Sex Drive teaching series. Do you guys remember that?
I remember.
Yeah.
He was just it was a relationship series that he was doing, and I remember him talking about creating a list of some things that you want in a mate and some deal breakers, and I was all over it. I was all over it because it was the first time I'd ever been challenged to do that. And so I started making that list, and it made some things kind of pop out in my head, like, why is that important to me?
Yeah.
Why do I even care about that? And the further along we went into that message series, the more surrendered I ended up becoming. And it wasn't about, because I don't even know where that list is. I don't know if I ever really did a comparison. I don't believe I did. I was so taken back that I was actually going to be in another relationship. I was like, oh God. I was just nervous, really scared. But it was amazing because I didn't feel the need to go back to that list.
Yeah. But part of the reason for the list, I think, is not that you have to hit every single box.
Right.
Because, like you were saying, it's not necessarily God's list, it's our list. But the key is to keep you away from some things that you might compromise.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes, say the easiest one, say Christian, I think all of us would agree on that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we will compromise that one.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the biggest ones. So how easy is it going to be to compromise something down the road?
Yeah.
Like not being physical, or not this, or not that, or someone that serves. You start to easily compromise other things, even if you're compromising the big ones. So the key is not necessarily to hit every box. Now with Jihan, I actually do have some C in me, you know, the disc profile thing. So
you do have a little bit of C in you.
So I did check that, and I gotta tell you that God exceedingly and abundantly more gave me everything on the list and then some. Just as you know, I was reading Ephesians 3:20. Not to him that is able to do immensely more than all that we can ask or imagine, according to his power that works in us. Yeah. So even that list was trumped by him. So with Jihan, which meets everything above.
Yeah.
You know?
And I would even say, like, I was a Christian, so if a girl's looking for a Christian, but like 5 years ago, David, I would not want any of my sisters to date who I was 5 years ago, even though I was a Christian. Yeah. So if that's what you're looking for, I would say, what level of Christian are you looking for? How sold out is he to God? Yeah. Because that's a whole other thing.
Are we still going? Because I have something to say about that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I have a question.
I need to get on.
No.